Let's make it official. So people are watching. This is Laugh Monkey Music, but this is also the guys from Talk Louder.
Yeah,
David, Jason, how are you guys doing? I'm glad we could finally all get together.
doing great. Yeah, it's nice to meet you, and thanks for all your help
Likewise.
over the past couple years or whatever. I know you've helped us connect with some of our favorite guests. Angry Anderson comes to mind.
Hmm.
Tony Dolan, we just had from Venom
Yep,
Inc. He was great. Of
it's
course,
fun.
everyone was great, but yeah, it's nice to finally meet you. I know Jason speaks well of you. I've seen your show. I know you've been doing it for a long time, so it's nice to finally talk to you.
Well,
We got to meet in person,
yeah,
Dave. Yeah.
Oh,
and
did
yeah,
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah, it was not long ago at all.
No, it
Yeah.
worked out really well. It was a good show. You guys really bring a
Thanks.
good show, man.
Thanks.
I
Yeah,
you were one of
it's
the few bands I hadn't seen either. So it was so funny. I
I
finally got to
I
see you.
love I love New England. The Toys have a lot of fans in New England.
Mm,
I mean, it's always, good for, I don't know, a handful to, between 3 and 500 people, and I'm happy
good
with
deal.
that. And
Yeah,
you could you could probably stay in New England for about a week and play a pretty
yeah.
good sized crowd if you have a decent following.
I
Uh,
think so. I think it's a good crowd. I think the fans really liked you guys. Really enjoyed you guys.
yeah,
And I don't know if I told you, I was having the show. I don't really go out and talk to a lot of people about it, and because I'm my own person,
yeah,
there's don't really go back and forth this. But at that show, I was, oh, you got some footage or something? He goes, what are you gonna do with that? So I'm gonna post that on my site. And I didn't say what it was, and he goes, oh,
yeah.
we're gonna put it. And I just, excuse me, on your phone when people are loud. I just show him. I go, that's my thing. And he goes, oh, I follow you, which is kind of funny. So like, I'm so like, yeah, not like John Goodman, a podcast guy, we say, like I'm just the ordinary guy, right?
Yeah.
Actually, Don Jameson goes, he says, he said he was the AC/DC of podcasting. I said, well, I'm the John Goodman of podcasting. Uh, but to that point, somebody else was talking to me, and while they're talking to me about, like, they're gonna say like a Don Dokken thing about his voice or something, and they actually stopped and they said, it's at the same time night, they go, wait, he goes, that was you. I would have quoted you to you. So the fact that two people knew me but didn't know me was kind of funny at your show, you
Yeah.
know. But I like that. I like kind of, I don't mind meeting people, but I also don't mind being quiet to myself.
where was this show? Where are you based, Sean?
I'm in New England, so it's, where was the show? It was like, was it in Springfield or something? It's like right on the edge of
No,
Connecticut.
no, I've already forgotten. Uh,
Okay, but
we played there
I
last
could,
year in New Bedford, and it
it's a
wasn't.
country-ish like bar, so that's why I don't really know it
Yeah,
naturally off the top
it
of my
was a
head.
country it was a country bar. The place was great.
Yeah, it was nice. I enjoyed it. I just hadn't been there because I don't really do country, you know.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like I hadn't been there, and
Well, it wasn't Boston proper, but might as well have been.
it wasn't. Well, there's actually one of the closest, even more like the Roadhouse
Yeah.
country. I'm trying to that
Let's get the
in
date.
Connecticut. I'm gonna pull it up right now. I'm looking right now,
Yeah,
real
let's
quick.
get the date. I'm gonna get it too, just for nerd's sake.
I always have to like reference it. It makes my wife crazy.
Now, it
She's like, it's
wasn't
looking up at IMDb and look it up to it. She's like, I'm just gonna watch the show, fall asleep. I'm
wasn't
like,
it?
no, 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 no.
What? Oh,
November 9th.
it was Worcester.
Yep.
Worcester.
Hmm. Wooster.
Yeah.
It was a good deal. It was a good show. Yeah, it's fun. We got to meet. But yeah, so I'm a fan of the show, and I think what I like about your show is I like the relationship between you guys.
Hmm.
It feels honest, and I think every podcast is different, so I don't want to be dogging other podcasts. But
Wait till I get to hold the conch.
let me tell you, there's something I do enjoy the energy. I do like the honesty, um, and the back and forth. You guys have a good history together, but also you go in like learning from each other. It's a
Yeah.
good dynamic that isn't really out there.
Yeah.
Because the podcast has already kind of been going on for a while, so people coming in late going like best album, and they just started last year. It's like the internet bubble's already gone. So like at that point, you need to become more established with the audience to be doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
you guys have your own groove.
we haven't even done a best album.
No, but you could because you're established. My point is like when you start out now doing it, you don't even have an audience. Now it's even harder because they don't have an audience for it.
Oh
Now
yeah.
that's something you
Well,
really kind of do.
yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think, when we started this sort of the premise was, I mean, first of all, Jason and I have known each other for 25 years or something like that. So we've been friends
mhm.
for a long time. But I think sort of the premise for the podcast was, besides just the two of us being rock and roll nerds, he's got the perspective of being in the industry and being a performer, and I've got the perspective of being on the outside as a journalist. And so we each bring our own perspectives to the table. And I think those two things work well together because, in my other life, I interview people, and in his other life, he's being interviewed. So we kind of have this, we never even really set out to do it. It just kind of came naturally. And I think he brings things to the table that I don't know, and I bring things to the table that he doesn't know, and it meets somewhere in the middle and it works.
And the knowledge between the two guys too. Like I watch shows, sometimes I watch a podcast, I'm interested in it or not. And sometimes it depends on the host and I'll watch it even if I'm a big fan of whatever. With you guys, if I don't even know the artist, I'm not a big fan or I don't know whatever, I'll still watch it because each of you guys, one of you guys know so much about the artist, you'll pull up some nuggets and then you'll let the artist pull out stuff that the other one wouldn't have. That's what I enjoy. That's why to me it kind of I'm learning stuff. And I know a lot
Yeah,
about
there's
Yeah.
a
stuff.
there's a lot of useless information. You could that could be a podcast name as well. Uh, but that's just nerd shit again. Like Dave will say a person's name or the name of a book or an album or a song, and I'll go, "Did you know that was recorded at Sound City in '79?"
Whole nother conversation starts.
Right. It's just rabbit hole. That's another name for a podcast, rabbit hole. But the point is you know, we somehow stay on track, even though we're getting off track, in these smidgens of random look a squirrel,
Right.
we get, but we get right back on because we try to relate everything to a topic. And it might be, the insanity might be what people are looking for in a podcast, because we don't get, sure, we have opinions, but it's not political.
Yeah, I wouldn't too.
We're not
I will.
dogging anybody out for
Nope.
what they like or how they
Nope.
did something.
That's
Or,
probably why I like it too, because I will not put a band down. I have
yeah,
opinions, believe me. I'll
Oh,
be here,
yeah.
I'll tell you.
sure.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
professionally, I would never dog somebody professionally.
Yeah.
I will not talk smack. And I think that's hurt a couple podcasts out there too. And if you want, I'll touch on that too. I don't think people realize it because there are,
Yeah. And the other thing too is we never really set out to be high and mighty on our pedestal about this. We just wanted to talk about artists that we respect and bands we admire and appreciate. And, I'm sure there's a lot of people that start up a podcast and it's all about stirring up controversy and getting
Mhm.
clicks, and because of the negativity or the attack or whatever. I don't have time or energy for that. It's like, if I'm going to do this, and we do spend a lot of time on this, it's got to be something that we're enjoying, and that, not that we want to kiss everyone's butt either. We'll ask the hard questions just because our audience is going to want to know those things. But it's always been about just me and Jason. This is the same conversation Jason and I would have if we didn't have the podcast. And that's what our producer, Jared Tootin, thought was the catalyst for this whole thing. He said at one point, when the two of you get together and start talking about a subject and it's music, people either gather around or they just can't believe that you have all these little detours. Like Jason was saying earlier, I bring up an album and he'll go, "Did you know that so and so produced that?" And I go, "Oh, wow, he's the same guy that produced such and such," and blah, 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 blah. And then, it's like dominoes start falling. And we've always been in this for that.
Well,
We
that's
the
what
same
Jared,
conversation.
that exact story is how Jared went, ding, there's a podcast.
Yeah. It's
I think listening to you though, I'm sorry, it's like listening to you like as I hear you guys even talk now, I think that's part of what it is. It's like when I listen to you guys, I probably listen to you guys more than most podcasts. There's like two or three I listen to periodically, but I was listening to your year-end wrap-up, I think it was recently. And I wanted to jump in because that's what I think the key is. So you're hearing it like you're there, and you're like, oh, it's that, and you got, oh, okay. Like you want to feel so inclusive that the person feels that you're right there with them, like like a relatableness. And
yeah.
I think that's what the people enjoy about your show.
Well,
No,
I'll
that's it. That's
I've
it.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. If Butthead didn't have Beavis to go, "You're a dumbass," then
Got no
Butthead's
show.
Butthead's boring by himself.
Exactly.
So,
No, you're right, Shawn, and that's our producer pitched it to us, almost 4 years ago. Exactly that. He said, when you guys start talking, people just sort of ease into it, and they feel like they're part of the conversation, and they're absorbing stuff, and they're learning things. And it's not like we're sitting down in front of a classroom going, "All right, kids, take out your books, and we're going to take notes." We don't harp on anything. We just have I think it's just because of who me and Jason are. We just naturally nerd out on this stuff and we enjoy talking about it. And I think people like eavesdropping and listening in on that. And hopefully they're learning something and enjoying the conversation as well.
I
I
feel
learned
like
stuff from you guys
awesome.
that I
Well,
never learned.
you're the respect that we've had from you from the very beginning of I want to say you introduced yourself, you reached out. I don't remember reaching out to you. I don't remember how that came together.
I
How
think
we
early on, I think I had you in the show, and then we just clicked
Yeah,
and talked for like hours
that
before the
that
interview or something
that's exactly right. So it's
years ago.
yeah, yeah. So and I'm extremely happy that we now have this sort of commitment to what it is that we do, as well as that we've even gotten to meet in person, which made it
Yeah.
completely real. Now there's kind of an agenda. I've been thinking about pining about this roundtable, if you will, with having
Jibber Jabber Fest.
yeah, the Jibber Jabber Fest.
Yeah.
Have you inviting me and Dave to your roundtable,
Mhm.
and that agenda on my mind all week long has been there are a lot of podcasts out there. I mean, millions.
Oh yeah.
So some of them that get a shit ton of followers and subscribers, and we're going on our fourth year, and we don't have shit ton of subscribers and followers. Now, and this is just one aspect of podcasting, is that are you in it for the numbers? Are you in it for the content? And it's really is more about content, but if you don't have the subscribers and the followers and put a little nudge and beg for people to click
Yeah.
buttons and go there so your numbers rise, so you can establish some type of following, so your content becomes greater and has wanted and interesting information. There are those that I feel like have the same guests that we do, or have a even lackluster roster of
Oh yeah.
guests who have like 1 million times more the subscribers and followers. They're getting all the fucking action. Now, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Shawn, but you've been doing this for years and years. You have like what, 35,000 followers,
Thereabouts.
subscribers?
On YouTube, I got a bunch on Spotify and iTunes. I don't even know if those are the
Uh,
ones that's
okay.
streaming.
So obviously your content is great via your guests. And
Hmm.
there's a friend of mine, Joe, who has a podcast called The Rock and Roll Coffee Show. And I love Joe and I love
Hmm.
his podcast. His content is great, but he doesn't have a Beavis. You don't have a Beavis. We've got Beavis and Butthead, and we can't. I mean, I would feel like we can, if I don't want to put you on the spot, but to call
No, you can.
you,
I'm pretty open.
but to call you a guru compared to us and where we are as podcasters, what is it that you, as well as 1 million other podcasters, and I don't mean to be crying in my milk or over, just crying here at all about it, but it's just interesting that the quality of podcast makes it makes no difference what quality of podcast you have
Mhm.
to have high numbers. Like a guy in mom's basement can get 1 million followers and we can't get 2,000.
I can give you a couple of answers. I think I have
Please,
theories.
please, please. This is why I wanted to
No,
to
well,
be
I
on
don't know.
the
And so
show.
and I'll be honest. There's a few theories I have. I might keep back and tell you guys off the air.
Yeah,
It's because
of course.
I'm not
Yeah,
going to give
of
all my
course.
secret sauce because I've worked for 4 years on this. I'm sick of podcasting myself. I'm saying the word podcast myself and editing myself in it because it feels like it's so overdone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um, I,
we're even new to it, and we're kind of done because there's aspects of it,
yeah, it's
which is
crazy.
what we're getting into right
I
now.
mean, in a nutshell, like I said, I've never gone to shows. I do interviews. I've never done anything. But like I said to you, if you want me to come on your show and talk some more, I will. But I've always turned away from everybody. Nothing.
Yeah,
A lot of podcasters go, let's be friends in a certain way, and I could tell it's the generalness of they just want to get my guess without a reciprocal
oh
or like
shit.
trade for something. I get a lot of that. So there's only a handful of people I actually will work with, and there's a couple of musicians that are successful and in your
Yeah,
genre that I've actually helped get their stuff going behind the scenes.
yeah,
It's not, it was like a secret, but I'm not going to put it out there because it doesn't really matter. That's kind of stuff I like to help create and do stuff. But I'll give you a brief thing here. We can go too deep if you want to get another time. I went to college for recording in like 1990, right? Got a degree in music and everything. Fast forward, no jobs from the industry for recording studios, just like rock and roll with grunge. Everything just went out. You know, Apple had the studio on your devices, got harder to find a job. I went to telecom stuff. That's where I have video editing skills. I do IT now, but when COVID hit, I watched all the musicians go downhill. Now, I also worked in radio and different things for my life, PR, and promo stuff with the combat and relativity and stuff. But kind of a little bit behind the scenes a little bit. And I'm like, these guys are hurting. I saw the podcasters doing the soups and nuts interviews. You know, so this is like an interrogation. You know, everything, not just the same questions, it's the same questions. I go, I want to kind of mix it up a little bit and just talk about what they're doing now, what their opinions are now. And I also want to, and I always directed my stuff to their websites. If you look at my stuff, I always have the links. The biggest shows out there do not have the links to the artists they have on. I always go right to the artist. I want them to go to the site. I want you to buy the merch. When you were on, I'm like, go to Jason's site. I had a link on it. Support the artist, buy the things, go to the shows. That's my flag. I'm always waving the flag of supporting music. COVID goes away and the show just keeps doing well. I've never promoted it except on like Facebook and stuff. Um, I've done things that have hurt it by having different guests on, like different styles, like not staying metal. At
yeah, of
first, it hurt
course.
me, I think, but then I have other guests on. I think it's helped expand my audience.
Well, yeah,
And I've had podcasters say, nobody cares about this stuff. Nobody cares what you asking about guitars or strings or gauges. Or it's like, 'cause every conversation is different with me. And I would just do that from the very beginning. I'm like, I just talked to the second or third guest was like the Sex Pistols, and I had Tony and those guys on for them Inc. And then I had like a Warren Hewer. And like my first 10 shows were like all huge people right from the beginning. So out of the gate, and I'm not going to waste the time with somebody that I know. When I talk to Jason, I don't know what we talk about. I'm not going to ask all the same questions I've known. I've heard every podcast from you before or interview. That's boring.
yeah,
You know what I mean? If they have an album on to promote, I'll do it. I'll do the spiel, whatever. I even have voice from the artists that everyone's getting nowadays. Like, I want to do it. I'll see somebody else who's had them on. And I'm like, no, wait, I don't want to be there. I always run from it. But a few things I've done is I can tell some of the basics. I've told other people, you know, I can say, like, look at your show, like, look at your website. When you look at your page, um, you need artwork. You need something that shows each guest. And it needs to be easy to see. Like, I'm like, over here, I'm going to pull up so I can take a better look at your page here and explain something to you. A little thing while we're talking about, all right, if you don't mind.
under the microscope.
Yeah, well, you guys, it's not on the spot, so I actually give you as a good example. Look at, so you look at your homepage, right, in YouTube, and it has the names on it pretty good, but it's pretty much the same picture then with the artist or the celebrity underneath it. You know, right?
Yeah,
If you guys had a thing, pull up my page, Laughing Monkey Music, and then look at mine under videos or guests, and see everything is different. Everyone has a different art picture, and they're really easy to make. I try to make them different colors. That's an easy trick that helps. Because I'll look at yours and other ones, and there's some actually I saw. I'm looking, I'm like, you can't what the artist is, or they'll say they're not numbered, so you can't track them. You know, playlist can
yeah,
be a friend, so people can do it. These are not crazy ideas. These are things that other people have tried and true. If I go online and I look, and I want to see something of someone's, and it says the episode and has the full name of the show, and it gets cut off, you can't see what the artist is. I just saw somebody say like that. and you have to scroll down and like go right to the interview. So if someone's flipping through their phone, they're not going to stop and see who the artist was because they made shows there. It's a picture of you, whoever the person is, not you guys. You know what I'm saying? You guys have the
Yeah.
artist in there, so that's good, and you should have the artist up in there. But sometimes some of the artists people have, they don't even have that in there. Those are some simple tricks because if you're on the go, you want to boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? It's about the thumbnails.
Yeah.
It is really, it makes a difference. I did it and it made a difference for me. Shorts, using shorts is good.
Yeah, I've had jumping in here. I had a former student, a music student,
Hmm.
who does video editing. That's like his day job now, is
Hmm.
he's doing video editing like documentary style. And he suggested that we do shorts, and our
Hmm.
version of that is not really using the the YouTube plugin shorts. We're using we just chop down our episodes to where it's you have to wait for the full episode. We do an
I do that.
intro.
I call it music minutes and do that.
Yeah,
I'll have
good.
a
Yeah,
segment.
good.
It's like a teaser, but
And
no,
it's
in shorts itself. I'm talking that helps
yeah,
too.
yeah. Shorts. It's like a YouTube feature, isn't it?
I
Shorts.
have a theory on that, and I'll give you guys my little secret sauce on that one after the air. That
Okay.
may not work for you. I do easy. Here's the thing with me: everything I do is just me. I do all the calls. I do, the all the contacts. I do all the editing, the interviews. It's all me, 100%.
Right.
I got I have three or four shows edited right now. I just haven't put up. Two I need to edit, and I've got five already scheduled out. And that's just me
Wow.
as one person, and other potentials. And I'm doing preparing for some of them too. Like one of them has a book coming out. Another may have another book. So I got to read. I try to avoid reading,
Yeah.
doing book interviews because it's kind of hard to do all that research and reading at the same time at night. You know what
Well,
I mean?
I was
And
just saying, we've spent as much time as we can on the work needed, the hours needed on our show. And there's three of us, and there's one of you, and that could also be another feather in your cap or a reason why you're
working hard or working smart? Are you
no.
fine lining stuff? Are you constantly streaming your stuff?
What do you mean?
I
I
think,
am.
yeah, I think we've done some things. They're not frequent, but over time, yes, we've done some things. Like, just for example, just in the past year or 6 or 8 months, whatever it is, we used to drop a preview clip Monday, Tuesday, then the full episode on Wednesday, and then another reminder preview clip on Thursday. And that was a hell of a lot of work, especially for our producer to extract those clips and then for us to publish them and promote them and all that. Well, we've gotten to a point where we started wondering if it's making any difference or if it's actually detrimental because people see the 3 clips and they feel like, I've seen it. I don't have to watch the full episode.
That'll hurt you on the media sites too. That's hurt me at times.
Yeah, and I was all in favor of whittling that down because I do a lot of the social media stuff. So every time something comes up, I have to promote it. And if I got to watch 3 clips in a week to figure out what content is in that clip so that I know what to write for the description of that, it just got to be a lot. And we weren't
Mhm.
positive that it was, beneficial. So we did away with it. I haven't seen any difference, but for me, it's a little bit of a load off of me. It's a load off of our producer to just have that one teaser clip on Monday. And then I'll do like a static promo on Tuesday with a still photo on social media saying, hey,
Mhm.
tomorrow our full episode with so and so drops. And I found that to be an efficiency that we've explored, and I think it works well. But yeah, I think we've done a few things over the course of 4 years. I don't think we're sitting there going, we're not having monthly meetings going, okay, how can we get this, tighter and,
Right.
and streamlined or whatever.
I mean, maybe because it's me, it's quicker. Like I'm like, all right, I know if I'm gonna have somebody on, I know how to do artwork. I could do the artist, and I know I can do it almost all on my phone, and then send it to myself on the computer, and it's really quickly done. I do some of my interviews I do at lunchtime, in my work day. I can do it in
Yeah.
30 minutes. Okay. I generally can do it beginning to end without editing. I know how I want to do it sometimes. Or I'll make a note where I want to go back and quick edit it. I have my beginning and end songs are done. I have my artwork already done. I just throw it together and render it. boom, another
Yeah.
one done.
So
Or anything that came out.
I have a sorry to interrupt. I always interrupt and I apologize. But here's the deal.
About it.
You in a work day like you just described, you just kind of vomited this work day, right? You're like, oh, on my lunch break, I can do an episode real quick. I can put together an ad, blah, 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 boom, it's done. All right. And then you're back at your IT gig. That to me is kind of like me working on music until it's time for me to podcast with Dave. You know what I mean? It's like I'm either sitting in this chair working on a song, trying to finish a recording, trying to update a mix, trying to do some that's not related.
Well, it wouldn't work for everybody what I do either. I'm saying it for me. I just find my time spot, and I mean, 'cause I still do a full day, beyond an 8-hour day. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
I'm busy building machines and stuff. I stop, and I'll hotspot on my phone with the same background. I'll edit it and put it in. So that also frees you up to not have me home in your studio all the time for a certain time. Angry Anderson.
Yeah.
Key Marcello. I mean, a lot of people talk to like the other side of the world. You know what I mean? And it doesn't always work out at the time that they want to do that, and you can lose an interview if you're not as open.
Yeah.
I was just saying that he does a lot of he basically said what you said. It was almost like verbatim how you guys.
Well, you do it when you have time, when it works. If you're sitting watching some stupid TV show, or I'm watching my wife's doing the Great Bake Off. I'm not saying it's stupid anyway, or some documentary of something about somebody being murdered or jumped, whatever. Sure. I'm sitting there just playing along with it, because that's all the documentaries I have is cooking shows and murder shows. It's the greatest thing. You know what I mean?
There's always gonna people need to eat, and people are gonna die sometimes from the food they eat.
And you need to snack. There's always snacking, and that's the thing. But I'm always just kind of keeping at it. You know what I mean? Wow. So there is that focus.
Well, that sounds like I would imagine, because I don't know, because Dave's not my roommate. So I don't, I just know that he puts a lot of time into it, because shit pops up and I go, oh shit, I need to share that. So Dave doesn't even realize that as soon as something pops up, I'm going, I got to share that. I'm up to my neck in something, but I'm going to have to share that sometime today.
Yeah.
That's my minuscule contribution to the social media PR of Talk Louder is just that. If we had no Dave at Talk Louder, there may not be a Talk Louder.
That's the thing that people don't understand. Shawn understands it, but I think people and I understand why it happens. People see the episode on Wednesday and they think, or they see the social media posts, but they don't really realize how much work goes into making that happen. Like I touch the podcast probably 6 days a week at some level.
Easily
6 days a week.
And I know that because I'm seeing it float across my news feeds and my socials and shit. I see, oh, Dave's at it again. And it seems like, damn, it's 24/7. He's got something posted before I get out of bed.
Yeah. Well, as you know, Shawn, you kind of have to feed the beast. If you're not consistent and you're not in front of people all the time, you run the risk of them forgetting.
I think a lot of people said that. And I'll be honest with you. I'm always starting to feel against the grain with that one. I think you take your shot once. I think there's too much social media. I mean, you follow me. I mean, Dave, you know we're friends now on Facebook. You see me. How much stuff you see me posting? I stopped putting stuff on Instagram most of artists now.
Yeah.
I'll put up other stuff. I use my social media to make contacts. And I'll share it when I have it. When show goes up, I'll put it up.
So this is a good turn. This is a good turn where I can ask you a question. So let me get this straight. You're not posting on social media as much as maybe you used to, and now that I think about it, you are correct. I rarely see Laughing Monkey Music Show pop up on any of my shit anywhere. I see Talk Louder post. Damn, Dave's at it. Oh shit, Dad better catch up with Dave. And you're not even on there. You're barely ever on there. So how
feels like background music. Have you been to the mall and hear the same song, and then you get home in the car, you're like, I just heard this song like 8 times, and you didn't realize you heard it.
Yeah, I don't go to the mall. I know what
I'm saying in theory.
Yeah.
Back in 1985, I'm saying if you go somewhere and you hear like the music, it's the background music. If you always hear and everything, you don't hear it.
Right.
And you can look. I mean, there's a thing called YouTube Studio. Yeah. And I know I sent you originally Social Blade. There's a link to Social Blade, and you can pull up these things and you can look at your stats and you can see what people are looking at. You get high enough in there, they'll start sending you recommendations on like what artists are going to look. And if you go deep enough in your stats, it's easily accessible. It'll say people that follow this show of yours watch this one. Here's the other podcasts they watch, and for that you can go look at the podcast and see what they're watching. You can do more easy smart work than a
Ah,
million things. If I have a music minute up, it's a couple apart from my show. I think it's an interesting part. It could be a lead into, but I don't do it for every show. It's a waste of my time. It was killing me. It was
hmm.
just getting nothing out of it. And just like I've had shows that I've had an artist on to say it's a big person, whatever, and then they go on and it gets on a certain website, right? And it can be good, but originally a lot of them would just go to the website and they read the interview because they posted on there, and I was not getting the hits on the show.
Right.
It's changed a
Right.
lot for me now. I mean, like Tony Dolan, it was a crazy one. Me and Tony were keeping track. I think between 40 and 50 different sites that picked up. That was the biggest one ever for me. For that last
Wow.
Wow.
interview he did. Yeah, that's bananas.
Wow.
Like all over the world, like for months, it just keeps coming up. And then it keeps coming up. My name is out there enough on the music sites that I think it just comes up. And I don't want it to be obnoxious because like I don't pay for sponsorship. You're not going to find me anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Right.
I spend no money on anything. I don't have anybody doing anything. So the best word of mouth I'll have is, us doing this is the most I'll do.
Yeah.
Probably the most. It's the worst. I barely say click on my show. I put it in the beginning because I hate saying it. I feel weird saying it. That's just me. Other people
That's
say it, I'm
fine.
fine. I just feels weird. Um, I'm like, if you like it, you like it. Just watch it. You know what I mean? It's cool if you
Yeah.
click on it because the more the show grows, the more you get leverage because they do want to see how big your show is. You know what I mean? I've had
Right.
artists I've reached out to and they've said the managers have said no, but come back to us and they say, by the way, I saw your Ian Anderson in the Just Total interview. Like the way you handled it because he doesn't do interviews very much. How do you talk to somebody after 50 years? Or like a air supply. I've done certain interviews where it's just been a good interview, and maybe they weren't out of the gate monstrous, and they've
Yeah.
grown over time. But people watch these shows, you guys, and then other podcasts are watching. They watch your shows. So there are podcasters that have these shows they get on and they do their own roundtables and they just rag on the artist for not doing something.
Ah.
Who would want to go on that show?
Right.
Hmm.
Right. So
If you're a manager or a PR person, you're like, they just ragged on this person. So what if something happens? You guys know behind the scenes. It takes months to plan stuff out. Releases sometimes it's not personal. If somebody blows me off, it's not personal. It
No.
just happens. I don't take it personal, and I roll with it. And I have these relationships with all these people. I don't take it personal.
Right.
yeah, I think one of
And those are things
one
that are important that nobody follows through on.
one of the best compliments for me anyway when we wrap up a show is for the guest to say that was so much fun. I'd love to come back and do a part two or whatever, because that tells me that we made that person feel comfortable. They truly enjoyed the conversation. It wasn't yet another interrogation on their list of 5 interrogations that they have
Hmm.
to deal with today. It was I like to think that when me and Jason come on camera and somebody's on their third interview of the day and they see us, they go, "Oh, finally, some people who get it." Because you see
Right.
all of our background and you, and you, I'm sure they deal with a lot of people throughout the day who are asking questions right off the press release. They don't have, you know, for better or worse, don't have a whole lot of personality. They don't make the person feel at ease. And for me, the greatest compliment is when a guest says, "That was a lot of fun," or they email us back afterwards and go, "That was a blast. Let's do it again
When
sometime."
when
And
they
because that
email,
person then tells
yeah.
his bandmates, and then they tell another band, or they tell their manager, "Next time these guys call, make sure I get the message," or whatever. And
I
so,
think it's a big part of my success right there too. That's what mine has been.
yeah,
Yeah.
that helps a lot too. Just
Well, and
in a comfortable environment.
it also drives us to have a quality product and to also keep the same show, keep our format exactly how it is. You know, the Wayne's World, the Beavis and Butthead, the whole. That's an important, I think, sort of tag team thing.
Hmm.
Um,
It's our brand, basically.
yeah, yeah, and
I've
I
seen other
think
people do it similar, but they're literally like Beavis and Butthead, and the shows didn't last and they weren't established. But I think the advantage is, and I not comparing myself to you guys, but like I do have a little back knowledge of because I'll talk about the things that bands would talk about, like the pricing. This is going on for touring right now. What's going on with this? I talk about the shirts and the layers and the clubs before everyone was talking about it. I've been talking about it a few years ago, and I mean, and talk about radio and stuff. And a lot of these people don't have that background, and they talk to everybody like they're like rock stars from 1985. and they're
Right.
not the musicians and they're human beings. I mean, love your music, but it's still the same people. You know what I mean? You know, it's and then you start asking these weird music questions. You're not asking a music question related to maybe the song. Everyone's like, "How is that song?" You know what I mean? There's something more you guys have because you guys have the industry knowledge and you feel more grounded, so you can offer a little bit more. And I don't think that's as transparent to everybody. It just happens and it's just there and they take it for granted. Not for granted, but they just aren't aware it's happening. That
I
makes
think it
sense?
just comes from a lifetime of being a nerd, honest to God. I mean, Jason and I talk about it on the show all the time. You can name a classic album and we can tell you the running order of the songs and who produced it and who took the cover photo and all that stuff. Not every single time, but it's that depth of nerdy detail that we just have,
But what about
because
your comfort level though? Like you guys can talk to people and if you're
oh
comfortable
yeah,
enough, you can think of these questions, but some people, these guys are a little nervous. You know, even if
that's
they've
a
been doing it for a
great
while.
point. That's a
And then they're
great
not
point.
thinking deep, deep, deep. They're thinking like, oh, I keep them happy. I got this person for me. I mean, I was like, I have Ian Anderson, Jeff Tull. I've got all the albums. You know, when you get to this point, you have all there. And it's just you and them. I don't feel like well, it's an audience when they do the podcast, but when you're doing it, it's just you and them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and,
I'm
and then
I'm rid-
it's overwhelming for some people, and then you're not being original.
I'm ridiculously comfortable, and Jason and
I am
Jared
too. I am too.
Jason and Jared laugh at me all the time because we have this running joke where I'll ask, if somebody had like a massive hit song. So let's just say, for example, if we had, say, Brett Michaels from Poison on the show, I would straight up ask him, how much money did you make from Every Rose Has Its Thorn? Jason might shy away from that question or ask it in a roundabout sort of way or kind of get to it eventually, but I'll just put it out there on a platter. And if I get a sense that, the person is a little reluctant, I'll back off. But I'm going to ask the question. I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't really care anymore. I don't worry about stepping on any toes, or I'll know something about the person before we do the interview. I've seen them in other interview situations, and I can tell, well, they're very outgoing or they're a little
Mhm.
guarded with information, and I know all that going in, so I treat them accordingly. But you know Jason and Jared
But
get a
you
big kick
don't
out
want to
of the
do that. But
fact.
you gotta know when to do it. Like I've said some pretty outrageous stuff because it just comes out of me. It's not planned. I don't plan anything. I don't have a script. I have everything written in front of me. I'm
Yeah.
totally by the seat of my pants. With that being said, stuff just comes out, but you can't just say it to do it to be your show like your Howard Stern. I mean, it's who you are. And I think that's the problem is some people try to be something they're not. You know
Well,
what I
I
mean?
think it comes with first you can't ask that question out of the gate, right? So you have to spend 15, 20 minutes or something building some rapport and making the person feel comfortable and at ease. And then you kind of ask the question that might have been a little off-putting at the top of the conversation. But now they've gotten to know you, they see you're, pretty chill and cool and they're comfortable with you and they know that you're not asking it from a place of uh, being intrusive or
Well,
necessarily.
clickbait. I mean, the show has to be established a little bit too. Like you have to have a reputation of
Yeah,
not being clickbait. I mean,
yeah. I think that helps too. But yeah, I'm a pretty sociable person, and but I'm also very respectful. So I just, as they say, sort of read the room and get a sense of what you can and can't get away with, and sort of walk that line.
This
what do you
is
guys do
not
with comments?
this is not our job.
Right. Nor
You
is
know
it
what I
mine. I
mean?
make no
We're
money.
it's
I
I
make no
wanted to
money. That's the difference. You guys actually set up on YouTube to make money. I'm not set up on YouTube. I'm not set up at all. I'll do a
yeah,
sponsorship. If someone wants to give me a sponsorship, I'll do a sponsorship where I can do whatever I want. I don't follow the
yeah.
rules that you do. I'm pretty good, but I don't want to do any of that shenanigans. You know what I mean? Taxes, anything. I just don't. So to me, this is all out of pocket for. I say I pay for Zoom. I bought myself a new Mac Pro. I mean, everything's out of pocket.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more of a label for me.
Well, don't you think that maybe we should
And we had
talk
this talk
about
before. Like
we
you can
should
dive
talk
into it. I
about
know you.
this. We should talk about this off camera because with
Yeah, it's
your
fine.
amount of followers, man, you could build a studio in your backyard if
I don't know about that.
if you monetized your fucking.
It's the
But I mean,
music industry still. You guys
it's
know how that goes.
it's admirable, and that's kind of like you're hardcore, because it's not about you monetizing, getting commercial, trickle down nickel, trickle nickel. right, into your into a bank account, although that you could, and I think that you should, because you could put someone's kid through college, probably. But that's, like you said, it's not really the reason, and
It would
that's
have to be
part
on my
of.
terms. It would have to be my terms because I don't want to be stuck in a world that it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it could go to a charity. You know, it could go
No, I just
to
don't
a.
want to do it. I just don't want to be involved in the wheels of YouTube financially. I don't want to be
Yeah, there's
into
something
that.
about that too. Yeah, because
Yeah,
god damn, I fucking hate the commercials that are even in our episodes. I'll be checking an episode just to see
I
where they're
actually pay
gonna
for
put
YouTube.
it.
I actually pay for my own YouTube. Just on top of that, I hate
Wow,
commercials. I pay
wow,
for YouTube just to begin with because I hate commercials.
yeah, wow. Well, what I was gonna say is, and this is relative. It's important to know that it's very rare that we talk louder have a guest on that we don't know, that maybe we. I feel a little sticky saying this. We kind of did as a favor for a PR department somewhere where we don't really know the artist, and we'll have them on and we'll have to read up on them a
Yeah,
little bit.
no,
And they're
I'll touch
and
on
they're
that too. I've done it
promoting,
before.
yeah, and they're promoting something, and I'm all about promoting somebody's art, especially and if they're cool and I'm turned on to something fresh and new. It's a bonus for us, right? But 99.9 percent, it's us being, at least one of us, excited about the artist because it's someone who we adore and admire.
Mhm.
Whether it's someone I wrestled onto the show, and Dave's going, I'm following your lead. Well, it goes both ways. He'll have somebody on that he's excited about that I don't know fuck all about, so I'm following his lead, and then by the
I'll
end of it
probably have more
going,
guests for you guys this year too, just so you know. That
by
I
the
share with you. I'll
by
probably,
the
I guess, more gifts he'd be sharing with you. So
awesome, but by the end of it all, I'm going, Dave, that dude was rad, and wow, that song was cool. It's a constant schooling, if you will, even just the way that you sort of do this. Now, you mentioned comments. Personally, I would turn this is me. I'm not helping myself or my podcast by saying this, but I would turn the fucking shit off, because people go in and comment on, nice t-shirt, and they're being facetious,
right.
or they'll, why you interrupting the guest all the time? Guilty. I'm guilty as fuck. Um,
I get that all the time too. I'm like, I'll tell them I have autism. I have minor spectrum. I have autism. I'm impulsive. It's my show.
me too.
I
I'm
think,
talking to
Me
them.
too.
but
Me too.
I monitor all the comments because that's what I do, and I'll say that I would say
I think
98%
it's
of them.
important to acknowledge them, the good ones.
Yeah,
If they're offensive, I'll delete them. I don't want to
right.
be being
Well,
negative to other people. You got to,
fortunately,
because it's your audience, dude. They're fans. They want, or
Yeah.
yeah,
fans, or whatever you want to call it.
they
If
want
they
that
just,
engagement. It means something to them
I
that
agree.
they took the time to comment on your work.
I thank every single person since the
If
very
you
beginning.
take the time to thank them, then I think that builds trust and it builds a relationship and that sort of thing.
They've
And
watched
I
an hour
will,
of you jibber jabbering. I can say thank you.
yeah, well, and I'll say that, 99% of the comments that we get are favorable, not kissing our asses or anything, but they'll say something like, oh, this guy was great. I remember when I saw them in concert in
Mhm.
1984. And they're just sharing a memory. It's something we have in common. And we go, and
That's the best shit.
yeah, and
The best ones are
I'll
when
say,
they
yeah, and I'll say, I saw them too, man. So and so opened
yeah.
up. It was an awesome show. And there's a connection. Now that person feels included, and then they'll, chances
But they
are
are
they'll come
included.
back.
They are your audience, but that's who you're talking to. So it's
Yeah.
important. My
Yeah.
favorite ones,
Yeah.
people actually think that they're talking to the artist who's already gone on,
Well,
who's not
yeah.
watching the interview, and they're like, "I saw you in the things. I'm your friend from so and so thing. Back when we were roommates, whatever." Those are my favorite comments. I
Right.
leave them up.
Right.
I'm like, thanks for watching the show.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of that either, fortunately. I mean, I have to say that the vast majority of our comments, by a long shot, they're they're
Th-
civil, they're polite,
Yeah.
they're fun, they're just people reaching out, sharing in the nerddom. And
If they're offensive or political, I delete them. I don't block
we
them.
don't have
I don't
that,
want anybody to be.
fortunately.
I've had a couple, not a lot, but I've done the same thing Jason does. I interrupt. I do this or that. I'm like, it's who I am, man. It's literally who I am. I go, and if you, then okay so far. And if you
So
don't like it, there's a lot of podcasts for you to watch. And
so
if you want to watch, thanks.
I have
Yeah.
confessed in the past that, you're not me. You're complaining about something that I really don't have any control over and that I'm working on. And they don't realize that
Yeah.
it's if someone I admire is in my Zoom room and I'm excited as shit where I'm like levitating in my chair, I am freaking out if it's someone I adore. And
Right. Or you're inspired too to talk to them, ask them
I
questions because they get it.
I am emotionally involved. So when after now the world knows that Jason's emotionally involved on his silly podcast, I'm gonna fucking interrupt Dave. I'm gonna interrupt, whoever's sitting there. I'm gonna interrupt because it's hard to contain myself because I want to know, Gene Simmons, what kind of picks do you use? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'll ask the dumbest question. I'll try to ask something as interesting as I can that might even be about his dog, but
I
so
think it comes down to like what like I'll start off with something like what connected me to that person, to the
yeah.
artist, like a show or a memory, and a question I'll have something different. And but I think when I came in and just answer here, this is my statement on what you guys are saying about bringing, not bringing doing a favor, but when I started the show, I'm like, I'm gonna try doing a big, I'm gonna try promoting small bands and doing a big show. Kind of like you do, I do a big movie, I do a small movie, like a Kevin Bacon thing. You know what I mean? I do one for
Yeah.
myself, I do one for the money, right? Or whatever. I'm like, but I want to promote small bands. What's happening? First off, is the small bands weren't actually being less of a help than the other bands. Like they wouldn't promote you on their own social media.
Yeah.
You put all your
Yeah.
effort in. Whereas the other bands, the bigger bands, they will. You don't need to do it because it doesn't matter. But at that level, they're getting somebody to talk to them, promote it. They don't even put it in their level. They're not even following you or helping you. So a lot of bands that did that, they're gone. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
cared about the numbers. So that's why I've kind of shied away. Now, if I get something from a label or some of the people I work with for other artists, I do have relationships with them, say, check this person out. And I'll listen to it. I'll say, so I'm open to having new artists brought to me to mix it up for myself and for others. So I don't feel like I'm trading off because I am the ultimate decision. You guys are the ultimate decision. And if it really sucks, you're not going to put on your show. I believe you wouldn't. I won't do it if I don't like it. And there'll be an artist I'll say, I like the album. I think you're talented. Something I would listen to. But I could probably still talk about it. I'm not going to, if you listen to my shows, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I love this album, but I'll say it's a good album, strong vocals. But how I sell it is differently, depending on the artist, the person.
Yeah.
I think you're being true to yourself. There is a difference. And this is still a music industry. And you can't expect to say yes and no without being open because you want them to be
Right.
open to you when you say, hey, can they come on my show? If they say no to everybody who's a certain podcast, you're in the same boat. So you want them to be open and say, oh, like there's an artist I just reached out to. I want your names on air. And they said, this is a new one. They said, can you send a bunch of links to some of the shows of episodes that their peers were on? So I had to go through my
Okay.
stuff. That
Interesting.
was interesting. I'll tell you that was
Yeah.
afterwards too. And people that are curious, you can watch it hopefully a month or so. If I get that gig, you'll know who they are. I'll mention it.
Yeah.
So there's always different ways of doing it. So I don't think you guys should ever sell yourself, feel like you're trading or selling yourself in because it's the show's like water. It's malleable. It's flowing.
Yeah.
It's what I mean?
Yeah.
It's in there. It's what you do for love. I mean,
Yeah. It's
there
true.
are trade-offs.
It's true. If I may,
Yeah.
having an unknown, I'll just, it sounds like I'm calling someone a bad name. I'm not. But having a new band or an unknown as a guest, whether it be two guys or a girl or an artist, an author, whatever it is, and no one really knows who they are, but there's a
Mhm.
connection somehow as to a reason why we may have them as a guest. There has to be some kind of interest and cool factor or a favor because someone from a PR company, hey, I'm working on getting so and so for you, but in the meantime, can you, I have this new artist and they have a new single coming out, and I've already
Called Dangerous
mentioned
Toys. Can you put them on the radio once so people can
I've
hear them?
I've
Just do me
already
a favor.
I've already mentioned that we've done that for PR companies before, but here's where I'm long-windedly going. There are PR companies that have Dave and they send Dave stuff all the time. And there's PR companies that have me and send me stuff all the time. Probably Dave gets more than I do, but most of the things that I get are underground metal. And I sometimes I'll go in and listen to it and go, God damn, this shit is good. But it's a new band and it's kind of like, who am I selling to?
Depends. Then that
I have to make the decision. Do I want to spend time on someone in an interview, or getting to
and
know
that's a
someone?
hard one. That's a hard one because I've done
Yeah,
that
I don't really know.
with
I
those
don't
bands,
really.
and it's hurt me. I've lost a few followers because of that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
a
it comes
tough
down to.
one.
And I've still done it. I'll still do it sometimes too. I still think
yeah.
the band needs a shot.
I feel like you have to.
That's a
But
tough
then
one.
again, I'm like, I'm so you want to help the bands, right?
Yeah, I do. But you
Yeah,
can't help everybody all the time.
right,
I
right.
mean, my show's confusing as it is. I'll have Right Said Fred on. If we start talking about low hanging fruit, like I'm like, you know what I mean? And then the next thing you know, I'll have on some other heavy band the next week, and it confuses people.
Right.
You
That
know,
that
Yeah.
should not confuse people.
I've had
You,
Exodus on, sorry, Air Supply on, then I've had Cannibal Corpse on. I mean,
yeah.
they're
I think it
musicians.
depends. I think it depends on how you establish yourself. I would say at this point, we're 4 years into this, and Jason and I, and Jared behind the scenes, our our demographic or our audience is expecting hard rock and metal from us. There's no doubt about
45 to
that.
65 males, American, European. I
Right,
know those
right.
numbers. I'm
But
starting
if
to
you
move mine a little bit, by the way.
if you established yourself as you're the personality, and I'm going to use just as an example here, say someone like Joe Rogan. He can have a comedian, he can have an actor, he can have a musician, he can have a politician, and it's all because he is the
Right.
attraction. And in our case, I think our guests are the attraction. If
It's true.
if if we help
I agree.
frame that picture, then great. But we are here and now we've built an audience. So our audience is expecting, hard rock and metal. That's why they turn to us. That's what they
Mhm.
want from us. And we're cool with that. So I think, I won't say that we shy away from anything necessarily different, but that
It'll hurt you. It will hurt you. I've
it's
seen
in
it
the
happen.
back of
Just
our minds because we've established ourselves as X. And until we're at the Howard Stern level or whatever, and we can have whatever the hell we want on our show, then we kind of have to be mindful of our audience and their expectations.
there is a podcaster that everyone loves his personality, and there's something very captivating about him, and he has a show in our genre, and but he's done some other side stuff that he's interested in, also side shows. They don't do the same. The numbers go down fast. They like him doing his thing with rock, and I
Mm,
think he's got a great personality.
And,
And
I don't even
I'm surprised it doesn't carry over because he is more the personality than the artist himself in a good way.
wow.
And I don't look at it or feel like it's a burden. It's just what me and Jason do. This is what we
No,
enjoy.
but it's what your audience wants though. Like they find you, they attach you to metal like me. It's been up and down with me for the whole thing. And I have to start off by like, what questions am I going to ask? How am I going to ask? You know what I mean? I'm starting. I start from the beginning of making relationships with things, and now more people do it. I'm like, it's a conversation. Now I hear everybody saying that. But if you look back on mine 4 years ago, everyone else was not saying similar. There's maybe, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was meant to start. This is great. Come back to the next album. Come back, whatever. We'll do a show to promote you, just get you on the air. You know what I'm saying? At the
Yeah.
very beginning, it was about building, 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 building. And people are doing these one and done shows, and then trying to come back afterwards after they did the whole life poop to nuts. They're like, yeah, we're all set without going back to you guys. You know what I mean? I have no problem getting guests. I've got too many, set up. Is for me.
That's
But
a good problem.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. I feel bad saying no to people though, or some the label because you have so many. It's like keep saying no. It's going to ruin yourself in a way.
Well, there.
We've
Go
always
ahead.
said that we're going to do this as long as it's fun for us. And we're 4 years into it, and I think we would both still say it's still plenty fun. And I think, I was just saying that we've sort of built this brand, but we've done it subconsciously. We never really built a framework that we need to operate within. This is just who we are and what we do. And fortunately enough, other people are out there that are similar to us. And that was the whole going back to our producer, Jared. That's exactly what he was saying. He's like, you guys, whatever you two do naturally pulls people in. So just do what you do, just be you. And I know it sounds cliche, but that's basically what we've done. And I think, we're just comfortable having this conversation because we would have it if we were doing a podcast or not. And
I think
then
you guys just string it to rock and roll for you guys though. Like you know what I mean, like to me, it's just about music with anybody. Like I had Lauren McKinnon on, and she did like folk music. She did a big album, The Math River. And I connected to. She was doing folk music in like the late '80s or '90s, and took her money and built a studio. No one was listening to folk music. She called it money her career. I'm like, that's punk rock. That's hardcore. Like,
Yeah,
it's how you look
yeah,
at things. Like, how ballsy is that to go out and take everything you have to an industry of music nobody likes, but you leave in your music and you're going to do it and commit to it everything you have. That is hardcore to me.
yeah.
And that's how I look at it. I'm like, let's take the angle and let's find out what's relatable to everybody because it still is to me, and that's my comment thread. I think you guys stick with your comment thread of your show.
Well, usually and this is somewhat related. Usually the show or the guy with the lowest numbers will be just keeping it real, man. Fuck them. I don't need thousands of followers, man. I do it for myself. It's like, okay, well, I really, really, really want to have Rob Halford on Talk Louder. It's probably not going to happen. But see, am I shooting myself in the foot by saying that? But
I think it could happen.
But with someone like, and I appreciate your confidence. But that's one where I'm going
If I'm talking to these people, he's coming your way.
I'm going to levitate from my chair.
Mm.
If something like, I mean, we've had that in my eyes, that caliber of an artist sitting in the room with us. And I just feel like it could be something and this sounds like I'm throwing rocks, as dumb as our numbers are too low for someone on the other side on the phone going, yeah, they only have 3,000 followers. They only have 2,000 followers. Oh yeah, that's not gonna.
Okay.
It's like, dude, 3,000 followers is a lot to me. See what I'm trying to say?
I do say, but here's the interesting part. Now, you are a musician. You notice, like, when you have to do 15 interviews and it's divvied out to different labels and who gets allowed. It's me, Dave does it too. You have X amount of time, with X amount of things. How's it going to be done? The most precise time, the most shots. Nothing personal. That being said, it's also who you know, and if it's a good talk, and it can go. If you
Yeah.
say, I have this many people, but then you go online and see how much press I've gotten. That was my thing at the beginning. I got a lot of press. There's one time I was like 5 different websites with one article. Like there's a
Yeah.
point where I was in the beginning. I think some of them actually started to divert me because I was on so much in the beginning. Yeah,
Wow.
I do.
Yeah.
And it's a good problem to have. But and I've avoided clickbait and stuff. You know what I mean? To the point of like I've avoided it like real hard. Like
Mm.
I think so. It's not always at the numbers. Like my numbers were certain things. I've got a lot of people on where my numbers were a lot lower. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I only had a couple thousand. I had like tons of huge people on.
Yeah.
Now it helps a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it helps a little bit now.
Well,
But
that's
also,
that's
I
hopeful
leverage it.
that's hopeful to all podcasters then with the story you're telling right now, because in the beginning when after we had super no followers,
Mhm.
we were going, well, how come we can't get, and you're basically saying that it can happen. And
It depends on who
I'm
you are. I mean, communication. How do you talk to people? How are you talking to people? How are you
sure.
following it? What are you saying to them?
Yeah.
What are you
That's
offering
exactly
in your
right.
show? I
Yeah.
mean, there are skill sets, and how you talk to people. And if you are saying, I
That's
don't
right.
care, and you're swearing, you're being this, I want a dad and a mom and a kid. Anybody that likes music, right? Can listen to the podcast and grandma can walk by and not be offended.
Right.
I don't. There's no reason you can talk without having to be so bad. I don't edit them if they swear or they say things. I'm not a saint, but my point is, it doesn't have to be such a show where you just like doing a Rogan podcast where it's just off the wall because it's deviating. It's watered down the show. So to
Mm.
me, I try keeping not the good guy thing, but I'm like, I thank my followers. I try keeping it visible with the links and the things. I don't always advertise myself at all, but I'll make a good cover so it's visually stimulating for people to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are certain ways of doing things without overdoing it. And
That, yeah, that goes back to the point that I was making earlier about, if a guest gets done with us and says, "Man, that was a lot of fun."
Mhm.
And that person shares that with management or their publicity or their peers in other bands or their bandmates, because maybe 6 months later we want to come back and talk to the bass player. And he goes, "Man, I had a great time with those guys." That works. And you hit on something else that people have no idea. You were talking about reaching out to publicists. And
Mhm.
I do a lot of that, and Jason does a lot of it too. But people would be surprised if they knew the amount of time that goes into crafting that request, because you don't have a one size fits all. You kind of have to tailor your request to the publicist and the artist. You can't just take a boilerplate paragraph and stick it in an email and just
This
change
is
the.
where I blow your mind and I say I was doing that for the longest time.
Well,
And it never.
I think a lot. No, I would say I would guess that a lot of people do that, maybe even the majority. But what I'm saying to you and to people listening to this is, if you go the extra step to tailor it to
It
that
makes a
person
difference. I will tell you that it does.
specifically,
I've done it recently. I've had
that
some
lets them know
big
that you're
hits.
paying attention, you understand their artist, you understand their audience, you understand them, and if they can tell that you've taken the time to tailor your request so specifically, that lets them know that you really know this artist and you really want this artist. They can still say no, but they
You,
can't say this is the same request they send out to 25 other people.
I'll
Right.
tell you this: if you can mention their name, that's one thing I'll give away to people now. If you can mention the PR's person's name and take the time into it, it will help you because they are human beings, and you have to
Oh
understand that.
yeah.
You can't get mad at them. You got to write back to them. If they say sorry, he's not. Okay, thanks for the time. These are human beings that are overwhelmed.
That's the
On
other
both
thing
sides,
we do.
and they're on other sides of the pressure of this side of the podcasters and the interviews and the radio and this and that. What's going to be the best of the money? This is their job. They got to get the biggest hit. If they
Yeah.
don't do the artist good, they're not getting back. This is their job. But then the artist is pushing against the side, so they got both sides in the middle. So they don't need you like beating them up. You
Yeah,
know,
their hands are tied to some degree, but you can help yourself by winning as much favor as possible by connecting with them. That's another thing we do. Send a thank you email every single time. Send them the link to the show when it's available. Uh, a lot of
I do
follow,
too. I do follow up.
a lot of follow up, and that way, when you come calling the next time, they go, "Oh yeah, these guys were really respectful. They were really cool. My artist had a good time with them. Okay, maybe their numbers aren't that great, but I'm going to push this one through to management anyway because I'm going to put in an extra little good word about, you know,
I,
that I
I
think
think
it's
that's where you guys are
valuable."
right now because that's where I was at a certain point. You know what I mean? They're like,
yeah.
Sean, I get it, but I can't come back to do this artist. There's one artist that's been ghosting me, because I need bigger numbers from you. They'll say it right out. You know what I mean?
That's
And
fine.
then a year goes by. But they're being real with you, and it's cool. And you're like, all right, that's my thing. I got this number then if I want to get this thing. So it's reality. You know,
Yeah,
that's how life is. You gotta put
it's
the time in.
all
You gotta be kind. It's like when you play. No one's a rock star anymore that's falling down drunk playing. He's a jerk on tour. You want the guy that's gonna come in, keep his clothes clean because you're in the bus with him, and take a shower, be polite, and go up and do the work, and then have fun. Be fun to hang out with. The
yeah,
same thing with podcasting. You can't just be this storm. You know what I mean? It's not that anymore. It sounds
right.
so boring, but it's true.
Well, sometimes, and this is, I'm just going to throw a monkey wrench in here. Sometimes you get
A
someone
laughing
on
monkey wrench.
that you're excited about. You have
Hmm.
somebody on that you're kind of excited about, and then they're kind of like a lame duck.
Oh, I had that happen.
And
Yeah.
we've had, I can count them on one hand, which is good. I mean, we've had hundreds of interviews, and I
They
can
can be
count them
tired though,
on.
and just don't want an interview. That doesn't mean they're bad themselves. I've had
Uh,
people that I
you know,
know personally that are better people, but when the interview comes, they're like,
yeah.
ugh. It's
Well,
hard.
it wouldn't be so much that I think that they're tired, or that you're their fifth interview of the day,
Hmm.
or they have somewhere else to be, or if they do an interview, if they do an interview from like their hotel room,
Yep.
it's better than them doing one on the bus
Oh yeah.
because
I don't think I've ever had one on the bus.
there's a sense of urgency. I feel like when they're on the bus, like
Everyone's
it's
listening to them too. The
there's
people
too
are
much
self-conscious.
racket going on here. I can't do this, and I'm not pinpointing at any of our guests or anybody's guest
No,
that
I'm agreeing with you.
that has,
It's
yeah,
true.
yeah. And I just feel like interviews that we've done with someone who's on tour, who's relaxed, they've had a nap, they just got
Hmm.
back from the gym or whatever it is, and they're ready to sit down and just hydrate and hang out for a minute. Those interviews are fantastic in
Hmm.
my experience, in our
What
experience.
What have you done when it's not that way? Like I interviewed. Um, there are some people that are just straight shooters, and I actually respect it so much. But like, I
Oh
was so
yeah.
excited for Ian Anderson, right? And I'm not saying this in a bad way. We started a little bit late, and I was a little anxious for that one. And I mean, because when you say somebody after 50 years, like I'm saying at this point, and he comes on, he goes, "Sorry, we're running late." He goes, "We have no time for niceties. Let's go." Like I couldn't even say hello to him,
Wow.
and he was not being rude though.
No.
I would interview him, and I would line up to interview him again in a minute because, and I love his music, but he's very professional. And he's to the
Oh yeah.
point, and he knows what his time is worth. And you have a slot. Some of these guys,
Yeah.
and I've haggled over time slots. Now people don't give me time slot haggles anymore. I've only had one artist that I was only given 15, 25 minutes for. Like I've never paid for anything. I know some people like do cameos and pay things and trade things. I pay different artists. Come on, I've never done that either. I've turned away artists like that. I've
Wow.
had artists that have been rude on the show. I've dropped them. I won't air it. I'll be polite and I'll end it like a normal show and just never aired.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, I won't burn anybody, but I've never. Everything has always been just me asking. I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
And I know other people have.
Wow.
Other,
We're the same way. We've never paid for anything.
well, you guys are a different position. Like I think a little bit lower. Some people have no contacts or no hustle. I'm more the hustle. You guys do have some credentials coming in.
Yeah.
You do have some of a reputation, you know.
Maybe.
So it's a start. Yeah. So you guys do
Maybe.
have something to start off of on. You know, what I mean, oh, they know who you are coming out of the gate. You know, I came out with
Maybe.
a hustle.
Yeah,
I made
but
so many mistakes. I can't believe I got on. You know, I had Glenn Malick on the first couple episodes from the Sex Pistols. I mean, how did that happen? I mean, freaking Sex Pistol on like right away. That's pretty freaking cool.
There's a lot of people that we get through major PR companies that don't know who we are at all, and they're just next. Yeah, what's up? Okay, and then you can see the handler sit them down at the in front of the phone, for an interview.
That's because they're younger. That's because they're younger.
Maybe or
the PR is younger
or
but
older.
But I will say this in our defense, it's back to what I was saying earlier. They sit down, they might not know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think, maybe I'm delusional, but I like to think that out of the 5 interviews that they're going to do that afternoon, they take one look at us and go, okay, these guys could be fun. These guys could have a clue. and they maybe give us the benefit of the doubt just at a glance, and then we start talking, and I like to think, I hope I'm not delusional, but I think they warm up to us, and they appreciate the fact that this isn't going to be another paint by numbers interview.
And if they come back, it worked. If sometimes they're just really nice though, and they know the professional words to say, like, oh, that's a good question. There's certain things that will get thrown back at you.
Sure,
because they're pros. And I respect that.
I mean,
but you can really tell if you work them, you keep working it, there's a difference though.
Oh yeah.
You won't get just roped in with the first, oh, that's good. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. I don't think people understand that either. There's a different level there of you had to read between the lines.
It's reading the room again, It's like it's gauging the response, it's gauging the body language, it's watching and absorbing as much. It's not so much, I mean, it is about the questions and the answers, but it's also watching the body language and seeing the reactions and that sort of thing. And then am I on safe ground here? Am I on thin ice here? What kind of...
you guys do get that. That's why I enjoy your show. You just don't have the audience. It's at the point, like you guys have everything together. Is you just ready at the cusp of how to, you know what I mean? I do think start to tweak some of those things I suggested, even putting a background behind the show. It's not going to just black, whatever. Change it, put the albums behind it, do something to, I thought it was silly at first, and it's just really easy to do. Then all the promotional stuff and make the stuff pop. I did it for like a month or two, and it started to make a difference.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work for everybody, but I'll put out everything I did to try for you guys to try. It's really about you to get in the spotlight.
It seems to me like just commenting on what you just said. This has become a set. Like Dave has his set, and I have my set.
I can tell you guys are close to each other too, right? You guys actually live pretty close to each other, and you guys are like still zooming. Like that.
We're like 30 minutes from each other.
That's still fun. I know it's still kind of funny though, because like I'm like a million miles away from both you guys.
Yeah,
this is kind of funny.
Well, there's also I was gonna bring up, sometimes just see what you guys think about this. Like, think about how many Kurt Cobain interviews you've seen. Okay, keep that in your head. Now, how many of them did he really seem engaged with the interview? Like where he's really loving doing an interview? Some people don't like to be interviewed, or maybe they know they have to do interviews, but they're doing it because they know they have to do it.
But
I feel
that's important though.
Yeah, I feel like there's, I read, somebody wrote this, it was either in a book I was reading or it was an article in a magazine about a guy that wrote a book about Nirvana or wrote a book about Kurt Cobain.
Heavier Than Heaven or something.
And
Probably.
it was
That was a big
about,
one.
I don't recall, and I apologize that I don't recall that. It's really not important, but it was interesting because it wasn't an interview about the new single or the record or, you know, why he breaks why he jumps into the drums or stupid questions about what Nirvana does or, you know, whatever. And a lot of it, you know, because in Kurt Cobain interviews, you don't know what you're going to get. He might go off on something and give a political opinion about the question, you know, as an answer to the
Yeah.
question that you just asked. And it'll be his honest, raw, fuck you, basically, right?
Yeah.
Which is that's great. That's good for selling magazines, you know. But the point that I'm making is sometimes in this arena where it's just a fucking podcast,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a major network, right? And so I would imagine that the interviews that you would do in the underground, I'll just call this the underground, someone might be tired of doing interviews and you may not get a good interview about someone that you're really excited to talk about and help them promote their new thing because you're a fucking fan, right? And so we're not allowed to get upset as we interview talent.
No, but
We can't get mad at
no,
someone
it's not
because
personal.
no,
You're
it's not.
kind of
It's not.
so like with Ian Anderson, this is perfect. It goes on to him. He's just it's not his thing. I get it.
Yeah.
But I still kept with it, and it kind of threw me a little bit. Like right that first Crazy Horse. Like it was just, and I kept with it, and I kept trying to change it the question, so I didn't come in cliche. Didn't want to come in.
Yeah.
I wanted to be interesting, but I wanted to stay on topic for the PR people also. And I turned it a little bit, and that's what somebody else, another person I reached out to, another artist said, no, they're not busy right. They're busy right now, but come back this time. And by the way, I saw your Ian Anderson interview. That was great. He's really not into interviews, and you really kind of kept it going.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. People are watching from PR, from different groups. You're not going to know who's watching it. And certain shows may have low numbers, and I've had shows that were super low at the beginning for big people, and now that they're up in the thousands. With Kurt Cobain and those kind of the people that are just disenchanted with interviews all the way to begin with. I interviewed Steve Albini, who's passed, who talked about Nirvana stuff, and he's just totally not in interviews to begin with. So getting an interview with him, he does like to interview, but he's so over everything. And also Ian MacKaye from Fugazi.
Wow.
So done talking about anything. I had him on for an hour.
Wow.
Once again, ninja level challenge of keeping them engaged in something you've talked about for so long.
Yeah.
You know, and Ian MacKaye is the nicest guy. He even writes in small letters. He's so gentle. Like when you respect the email, he'll say sorry. Everything's all his name, everything's small letters. Nothing giant about him standing up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Wow,
that's amazing. That's a challenge for you as an interviewer. To keep engaging and not interview, but not insult them. Try to keep them going. Satisfy yourself because you want to be interested because this is everybody feeds off of you. But then if it's PR involved, you want to keep them happy too because they have a job that has to go. All the wheels have to go in the bus.
Yeah. That's the art of it. That's the art of it.
But not everybody realizes that. And that's, I think, people are listening. There's so much more to it having a podcast and calling people.
And you can tell that people don't realize all of these things that we've talked about today in the comments.
Yeah, they won't, and they'll say certain things. And I think we've shared a lot of things, and we'll talk for a while more. And then after the year, I'll tell you some of my secret stuff. But because there's more that you have to really got to dive into it and try things and experiment. Some of the things I'm sure are basic things you can try and do and they have improved for me. But I have some new theories and some new ideas and stuff too. I'm always trying out and moving forward. I'm trying to make it as simple as I can, but as good as I can. How do you make it better but easy? Think smart. You know what I mean? Don't work hard. Think smart. You want to really make it easy.
Yeah.
Without getting burned out.
I feel like that we do an all right job, and it's very rare that I catch Dave like looking at the ceiling going, Jason, you got anything? It's kind of time to go when that happens, but It's very rare that happens, but it's also an honest thing. It doesn't mean like, oh well, we're done with this guy. It doesn't mean that at all.
Yeah.
But it when you
It
run
depends on
into
the artist. So you have to read the artist. If they're just talking about their album
exactly,
and they're being honest and they're having fun, but they
yeah,
are talking about their album and that's what they want to do. That's the mood today. They got 15 interviews about that. They're gonna have a sandwich, do 10 more interviews, and they're just on the album, and that's where they are right now. They can't be getting sidetracked.
right,
All
Yeah.
right,
They're
if
on
it's
a
a good album,
schedule.
let's talk about it. That's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
They're not all home runs. There's some of them are just a good day at the park.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, they're humans and they have good days and bad days, and they're on a schedule. A lot of people don't realize that. They think if me and Jason have them on our show, that we just had all day long to talk to this person, when we really just squeezed them into a lunch break. But
Which is
after,
why I started doing lunch breaks so I could get offer flexibility.
yeah,
I became mobile
exactly.
so I could do it that way. It
That's
changed my whole schedule.
it's it's all about people not really understanding what all goes into it, and that's fine. I understand it. There's plenty of things I don't understand because I'm not in that field or that industry or whatever. But yeah, like Jason was talking about the comments. I love the comments where we'll have somebody on and somebody will go, "Oh, you didn't ask them about,
Oh yeah.
some demo tape they did with Yngwie Malmsteen back in 1984." And it's like, look, dude, we had the guy for about 45 minutes and he had a new album I mean, some people have such massive careers. There's no way you're going to touch on
No, I
everything.
just gave the link. I said, you know what? It was so much going on. Here's the link. I'm sure they'll reach out and they'll answer you on their socials. Here you go.
But sometimes their tone is like they think you're an idiot because you didn't know that sliver of their career, and maybe
Yes.
you didn't, or maybe you did, but there was only so much time in the interview and you didn't get to it. But I don't take any of that, personally. It's
well,
just
Being a dad of
sometimes,
3 kids, everyone always thinks I'm an idiot. I'm already thick-skinned from that part. I don't even care. Like, get in
well,
line.
well, well, even sometimes they're stating the obvious. Oh, you didn't talk about da 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 da, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, why would I?
right.
That's a
Everybody
like
else is talking
that's a
about.
sign on the wall in the background. Why would I talk about that?
That's
Yeah,
an
You
easy
know,
question.
that's
Go
like
to the easy
yeah,
podcast for that one.
yeah, that's like talking to I don't know, Led Zeppelin about Stairway to Heaven. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like,
Exactly.
why don't
exactly.
we talk about Four Sticks instead? You know?
Yeah,
It's who your show is. I want it to be somebody come in and want to stay. I think when we talked about it last time, we got sidetracked with the Igniter one. Which man, that's such a good album. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. I still love the album. I've listened to it so much still. We got sidetracked. Like I try to view my show was like back in like the 80s or the 70s. Like when you get these things, you don't know who the artist is, but you see like a profile on some TV show, right? And you walk away going, yeah, I'm not a fan of Barbie Andrews' work, but man, she's a hard worker. Like I want people to just walk away, and if you don't like the artist, to walk away to have a different opinion of that
Yeah.
art, or turn you, or you could like it. You know what I mean? Like when I had Air Supply on, I'm going to give him grief. I was teasing him about spilling wine and doing this. The guys, there's an album, they're going to do a song with Rob Halford that just didn't happen. What?
Wow.
Air Supply and Rob Halford
Really?
going to do a song together?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bananas. But I was, I went on, I was talking to Graham, the guitar player, as I wrestled. He said, I said, you write a song, you know a song, but you don't know the name of the title of the song. Like, you hear all the time, you just don't know the name of the title. Obviously I was a lot younger. I said, we're a song, and I said, I titled it, I was really young. I said, I titled it Lost in Love. I know where it's going. I said, little did I know, I knew the song, but it was You Have Lost in Love. And he's so nice. He goes, you could have a song called Lost in Love. I'm like, no, 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 no. You have the only song that would be called Lost in Love. You know what I mean? It's how you react to these people. You talk to them, you make it personal. And some people they don't like it, and then they just don't watch the show. That's where you're not going to please people.
Mm.
But
yeah,
it's all these little things of how you are as a person, how you handle people, how you follow up, how you do this. It's all these little pieces, you know, it's what helps your show grow on all different levels. Because it's not just you can have a bunch of people for an audience, a big hit, and the next show you can have shows that were bigger than me when I first started. Were doing a certain thing and they had a certain spiel, and then once they did their episode with all their questions and they didn't have a follow up, but
Yeah.
within a year I was surpassing them, and now I home past them because I have all these guests coming back and bigger guests, and my phone book is full of these numbers now, and I can just call them or they have a promo and they say, hey, I hate doing podcasts, but I want to come on to yours. I'm going to send you this. I get it. It's painful. Yeah, I come to the doctor. Let's make it a quick visit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
let's get it out there. I get that.
There's
So
been a few people contact me. So, hey man, I got something new going on. I want to do an episode, and I'm like, fucking great. And you know what? Sure, it's only happened a couple times, but that's awesome
it'll
when they
start
reach
happening
out.
faster because it happens to me a lot now. I have a lot of
Nice.
reinvested things now, like into the year. That's why I have so many now because it's like when the album cycle comes out or this comes out, I'm in the wheelhouse now because I've
Mhm.
gotten, and I appreciate this stuff. It's not about anything, but I mean, it's gotten either picked up in a magazine or a website. Actually, in a magazine, it's even popped up. That I know Guitar World with Eddie mentioning Eddie Van Halen and Jesus up in my name. I'll tell you that is the craziest thing ever in my life. In
Wow.
the same paragraph, that shouldn't happen.
Wow.
Right? That's my
Yeah.
one thing. I'm like, I could die right now. They mentioned Eddie Van Halen, Dweezil Dapper learning from Eddie Van Halen on the Last Monkey Music Show in Guitar World. I'm like, I'm the worst guitar player ever. I should not be mentioned with those two guys ever, ever. You should say Eddie the period. Like, don't even. You're insulting everybody.
Wow.
But but I'm saying, but you get that point where you start to they'll start coming back again. You know what I mean? And I think you guys are at that cusp. This year is where you're really putting it into. A lot of these guests are going to come back now. You're like your farmers. You got to put it in. And a lot of people quit
Yeah.
or they don't invest in it. And it's really about getting you guys out there and more people seeing you. That's the hard part I was at.
Well, and we're okay with having a guest on 2, 3, 4 times,
We've
especially
done
if
it.
It's
there's.
important. I do it all the time now.
We've already
Angry
done it.
Innocent's been on a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, in some a guest like Angry, he's a personality, and
He always has something to say.
he's basically a walking encyclopedia. He's a journalist. He's a talent. He's a songwriter. He's a poet. He's one of these sort of energies, right? That you could
He has
I
a
bet.
million ideas.
Yeah,
He
I
wanted to do a
bet.
show for me. He goes, let's do an episode. Let's do a series.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can do it.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
it didn't work out because I think he had tour starting and his manager's kind of, you have a job to do, Angry.
Yeah,
Right.
he's
Go
a
back. But I've
busy.
had him on my show. He's like, let's do conspiracy. Let's do this. Like he's always got something going on and
Right.
he's always a lot of fun. But that's what you get. You want to have this
Yeah.
reinvestment with these artists,
Yeah.
Well,
because
Yeah.
how many like you, are you represented by somebody or you guys do all your own in-house management? Probably a good example.
no,
Like
we don't.
for your band, for any of your bands are you in? Are you it's all
Oh,
in-house?
me. Oh, me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
For
don't have a
music, I'm just an
I,
example.
I don't have a manager. Usually it's very democratic,
Okay,
diplomatic,
so it's a little different.
and
So you don't,
yeah.
but
No,
like,
no professional management
okay.
company
Well,
from
even
any
but
for
like,
any
like you
brand.
get the warrants, and I say like my old band, the warrants, and the kids off my front lawn. But you get certain bands that are certain management companies, right? And you get one band. I'm not saying warrant, but like if they see you do a good job or you've got a relationship there, they've got a whole roster of artists, and you get into the cycle.
Right.
It's about performing and keeping a consistency and doing it right.
Right.
It's not a
Yeah.
shtick, and it's got to be. But
Right.
it's also all this has to be real. You really have to enjoy the music. You have to enjoy the artists. You don't want to do it. You don't want to get famous. You just want to do it because you love it. It's got to be part of it, and that's what people miss about. You get something famous. I don't care. I just wear a black shirt. I wear to Derek because they sent me a bunch of free stuff one time. That's my guitar string I use. I don't care. People like don't. That's why I laugh at your show. Somebody finally knew me after all these years. I
Yeah.
don't care. I'm just the venue. I'm just a way to get to the artist. The name of the show is ridiculous. Laugh Monkey Music. It's not a real thing. It's hilarious that people use it in the news and people mention it on like wherever. You know what I mean? The craziest things. They have to say that word because it's not a real word.
Yeah.
But it's not about. It's not tied to me in a way. You know what I mean? And the show's not really about me. I try to put my name up even half the times. I don't want it to be about me. But you got to be that way. A lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
How much do you really want to support the music?
Well, that's kind
And
of why why we're here, and it's how we've met each other. So that's kind of what it is. Not to get romantic, but
no, it is. It
that's
is.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
waiting for my promise ring though. It's gonna have to be a ring for all three of us.
That's all right.
Like brass knuckles though. But the other thing that's so easy, and it's also is like when you talk to artists that are similar, we're all around the same age, given, I'm talking to everybody in general between like 10 to 15 years. And at that point, you get to a certain point in your life, we all have the same influences, like the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, Zeppelin, like we all have the touchstones of certain horror films, and there's certain things we all do. It's an easy conversation. You're not doing a bus stop when you're sitting at the bus stop going, "What's the weather today?" I hate that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
what can you do to flip the conversation to relate to somebody? How do you relate to them in a comfortable way without being fake?
Right.
That's super important. And not every artist wants to be a friend. And How do you still flip the conversation, make it fun? How do you? I'm in my head. I'm thinking. I'm maneuvering all the time when I'm talking to artists. Like, how am I making this the best questions for them and for the audience? And so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I get stumped, and artists will just be like, oh, and I don't know how to recover from it for a minute. It happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
I get nervous sometimes too.
that's really important. That's again, that kind of goes back to something I've said a few times already. It's how can you make it refreshing for your subject and by extension your audience? Again, if they're not gonna,
And you, how many episodes have you done?
yeah,
I've done over
exactly.
500. I
Yeah,
just want to sometimes just drive to the wall.
exactly. I mean, if we're going to have a repeat guest, I don't want to rehash what we did the first time or the second time. It's got to be fresh. Obviously, there's going to be a new product to talk about, most likely. But then from there, we got to go into some new territory because we've already covered all that.
Hmm.
And it's the way you present the questions that makes the subject open up. It's because the question has a fresh angle. The question has some personality behind it. The question tells the subject that, whoa, that person knows me. I haven't been asked that in 15 years. Well, let me tell you all about it. That's
One of the
what,
things I've noticed you both do, and I'm just as Jason and jumping over. I apologize. It's going to be a loud
that's
thing.
fine.
Is you both are able to pivot a conversation, and I think that's one of the huge pluses in your show that I enjoy because I don't feel like it's a like you drive this like you see somebody on a stick shift in the car, like and you're in the passenger side.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like it's very smooth. You're like, that doesn't work. Yeah, okay. You can acknowledge something, but you kind of like it just gears into something else. You've both have done a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And it's I don't even know if you're always aware when you do it. It's a natural thing. And to me, that's
May,
probably why I enjoy your show because those are the kind of things you guys do that aren't so known, but maybe known. I don't know.
yeah,
I think, yeah, go
maybe.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, maybe it's intentional about a third of the time because it'll be like,
But you know
hey,
what I'm saying though, right? The pivot is hard.
I hear you.
yeah, and that's a natural thing, and that may have been something that Jared saw all along. Is that that's why me and David, here's the deal. I've said this 100 times. It's like me and Dave without a guest, we're having a podcast without a camera every time we hang out.
Yeah.
Right.
You get
That's,
it? Like that's what
yeah.
Jared saw is that like no one can be in the room, just me and Dave, and we're nerding out on something and having a good time talking about something that oh really? Tell me all about it or like
I
what
don't
do
really
you
think people
got or
realize that as much though. You know, though, because
true.
you guys aren't as much as the personality. Like me, the show feels like it's more about the guests 100%.
Hmm.
But you guys can hand the ball back and forth. Like, and I know I pivot, but I'll pivot hard where it pays off really good or it doesn't.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
That's my thing because it's just me. You guys
Dave
can kind of
reminded
play
me
together really well.
Dave reminded me recently that, and I had completely forgotten about it. I thought when we first started Talk Louder that our first like maybe 5 episodes we didn't even have a guest. How many episodes did we do before
My
we had our
God.
first guest?
It was 30 some.
No
That's fucking
way.
crazy. Yeah.
Mm.
I didn't I completely forgot. I don't even
Yeah.
recall us
Wow.
just getting together and so there you go. The original premise was our producer Jared going, you know how you guys get together and just start nerding out, that's a
That's hard though.
podcast. And
That's where you guys are burned out. Then you're at the point where we just talk about top five glam albums every
Right.
other week. And I'm
Yes.
not digging them because there's some of those shows that are really, really good actually. Or metal. I'll get selected too. But you get caught in the struggle of trying to come up with content like that
Yes.
against other people doing the same thing.
it
And how to
can
put
turn
yours that's better than somebody else's because some of them are better than the other ones out there. That's
yeah.
what I'm trying to say. But you're
Yeah.
stuck with them because you don't have the same flexibility.
I
Yeah.
felt like it was more work, to have a conversation on a topic between me and Jason. I actually felt a sigh of relief when we brought in a guest. And a lot of people would think the opposite is the case because they might think from the outside that, oh, you have to make this guest feel comfortable and you have to ask all the right questions because this person is famous or whatever. I actually found the chemistry and the flow to be a little more easygoing when
Mhm.
there was a third voice in the mix. And Jason and I have known each other forever, so we're totally comfortable with each other. But when we were on episode 29 or 30, and we're like you're saying, Shawn, okay, how about best live albums this time?
Right.
You know,
Which
and
is
it's
funny because
like,
I've done that before though with Angry Anderson, and he's great. You should give me some albums. He goes into it.
right, but
Cry,
Angry,
he listens to the songs, and he, yeah,
but he's not your co-host every single time. He's a fresh voice in the
yeah.
conversation. You know, me and Jason were with each other every week in and week out. We drop an episode every Wednesday for 4 years, and the first 30 of those were me and
I
him.
love how you guys are consistent. I've never been consistent, by the way.
Oh yeah,
That's a rule I break too, by the way. I don't follow rules.
yeah. I've always felt like
No,
being
it's better. It's better for
consistent
them.
was.
I just don't do that.
Yeah, well, it's tough. I mean, it's hard to stay consistent for any length of time. I mean, sometimes when I look back and I say, I realize we've managed to put out an episode, a new episode every single Wednesday for 4 years. That blows my mind.
You know what it is? Maybe because you have somebody else edit it. Like I'm in charge of it, and I get so excited. I just want to put it out. I've also learned it's
Ah,
going to be the
that's
first one.
yeah,
I just can't. I'm just so excited to share it because I
yeah,
just did it.
yeah,
Some of them I plan out. Like I know there's some February releases, so I got to stagger some things and put them apart. You know what I mean? So I know I have
yeah,
some I'm holding in my canon to whatever, and sometimes I want to mix them up so it's not the same type of bands. You know, like I have two bands that I have on both good bands. They have a similar name in both their names, so I want to split them up a little bit because they're at the same title sort of in there. Different bands, they're both good. But you know, for those kind of things. But I'm just infrequent with it, and I also not going to guess at the last minute come out with something important like
yeah,
Tony Dolan. You
yeah.
know, we decided that day, and I had it up that night, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
It just happened to be important at the time. It was hot. So with
Yeah.
me, I don't have the same control of an editor. You know what I mean? It's just me. I have no
Yeah.
control,
Well,
no meter.
you're your own man. You're your own animal. You're your own boss. You're a one man thing going on. So you know your limitations and you know where you can spend your energy without killing yourself. So I feel like for you to have the footprint that you have is impressive, and you know, getting to know you personally a little bit kind of explains a lot of what you have that we do not, even though we're a three-man crew and you're a one-man show, and you've got this massive footprint compared, like, you know, 100 times over, 1,000 times over than we have with your 35,000, and we
I can't
barely.
explain it. I can't honestly. I just all the little things I said to you. I don't know what one thing worked. You know, it's having a project people like. It's having consistency. It's having the talent. And then it's working hard, and then sometimes it's luck, and it's all
Sure.
together. If you don't, as soon as the artist was lucky, you're like, well, first they had to practice for 15 years. They have this in place. They have this in place, and then the right position came with luck, and they're ready for it. You don't just get lucky if you
Y-
suck. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you can
And I'm not
be.
saying this, I'm saying I am, but I'm saying luck has to have something to deliver to the people, or they're not going to keep coming back after
y-
a year. My numbers would have
Yeah,
dropped.
you know, there's other Eddie Van Halens out there, but they never got a record deal.
Right.
They probably
Hmm.
write the greatest songs ever that no one's ever heard, and there's no. You see what I'm saying? They didn't
Yeah,
get
and
the.
you have
They
to make your
didn't
own thing too.
that yeah. But that's kind of interesting. I always thought that, you know, the kid that practices every day for 10 years and you know, uh has, you know, does works really hard at the craft, whatever it is, whatever let's stick with guitar. And then there's someone who's just naturally talented that doesn't practice every day for 10 years, just shows up and picks up a guitar and go, wow, what is this? And just shreds and writes a
Yeah,
song and sings and hey, what's for dinner? And didn't put in the time.
right.
It's kind of like that life's unfair thing, but you can't say life is unfair. That doesn't work. So the
I'm
luck.
like, I'm not taking a canary to a coal mine so I don't make sure there's enough air so I can breathe. My life's okay. I don't complain all the time. Sorry, you had to do that work. I'm like, I work on a computer. I just what 3 extra
Right,
clicks. I don't carry a canary to work every day, so I'm
right.
gonna die in a coal mine. It's all good.
Yeah,
Right.
you're not breaking a sweat. No.
Right.
I get stressed. I do feel it because there's a lot of gas and a lot of stuff I do, but it's important.
Sure.
And I think that's to me. I know we should probably wrap up the show. And I want to talk to you a little after, the show, you guys. But if people enjoy the show, I mean, we can do this again, or I'll come on your show, whatever. You guys will
Yeah.
be one shot. Come on. And go on more. But one of my things is I want to keep pushing you guys. I love you guys. I want more people to get to see you guys. I don't know what it's going to take.
We appreciate
That's
that.
my goal.
Very,
That's one of my
very,
goals
very
here
much. Yeah.
is I'm a big supporter of you guys. Earnestly, like I said, we've talked to Jason and you know, we talked. It's very comfortable. I think we're all very similar in a lot of ways, you know. And we also have a great idea of how the music industry now and fair it is behind the scenes, and what the hustle is, and all the back part to it. You know what I mean? And it's important to find a balance of all that because, you know, and I'll be the guy. I say one thing. I'm the guy that will complain, so the musicians won't complain. They have a lot of things they can complain about. You know what I mean? They won't do it on the show. I'll
Right.
complain because I couldn't do it. So let me be the one that complains because
Yeah.
I'll put it out there,
Yeah.
and that's good. The way the artists don't look bad, and people get an idea of how much it sucks in the bus, or how much they went through, or how much it's went through, or the insurance and this and that before they even leave, or their debt, and they make it the red on the visas and stuff. We'll go down the rabbit hole. But the point is, I'm just going to talk about it, and maybe someone will walk away going, "Wow, next time band comes in town, I'm going to buy a shirt and go see them," because it was a lot to get there. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it wasn't a cab or bus on its way in, and touring. So, you know, that's important. I mean, but if people are interested, they want to make some comments or feedback, let us know. Well, I would do this again, you guys, you know, and share some more.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the goal is you want anyone and everyone to have a good memory of the experience they had.
I would
Just
just picture
like
watching it, or listening to the show, being like, oh, getting aggravated with you and I for jumping on each other, and going, God, how does Steve even tolerate those two knuckleheads? And then the second thing would be like, you know, they want to jump in and say something, or they want to add something because they're so excited and they're relating to it, or I didn't know that, or yeah, I remember that. It's bringing
Yeah.
back a good memory, like your
Yeah,
Iron
that's
Maiden,
good.
the artist guy. What's his name? I want to say Skull.
Claudia.
What's that name? What's his name? His nickname. He was
Crush.
great. Crusher.
Crush.
I love. I love
Cru-
someone with a good nickname too.
Crusher Jewel. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would say stuff. Crush your jewels. He would say stuff, and it would just jar things in my mind. See, that would have said something stupid to him, and either he would have laughed or been like, "Oh, Americans," you know,
Probably.
Yeah.
or both. But I would have. But to me, it's jarring all these memories, and that's what's kind of fun. You know what I mean? And you go through all these different thoughts and emotions during your show, and that's where and that's your audience. You know, and it's real.
Yeah, you know, by the way, he's someone, and this is not a brag, he's one of the ones that wrote us back and go, "Hey man, that was a lot of fun."
Yeah. Yeah. He was.
I love that
great.
because that's the kind of artist I would have gotten. I do stuff like that. I'll find somebody that's really talented, and no one really talks about how great they are. And so when I saw that come down, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." Like, you know,
Yeah.
I was excited for that one.
Yeah.
Well,
More than usual.
he's a personality by himself. He's a cartoon character. I had no idea what to expect, and I went and saw some of his stories that he posts on his own socials, and I'm blown away. Blown away. I was like, I already knew the episode was going to be a slam dunk, but just meeting this old cat from England just talk about all the stuff he got to do and
While he's
just
totally doing like cocaine and doing Jack Daniels and like the whole
freaking out. Yeah,
Right.
staying up for days.
Trying to
You know,
crank
love
out
that.
the Black Sabbath album. Yeah.
I love the
pretty,
stories we
pretty
shared.
great.
And that's the thing. So I mean, I will say to people that listen, because this will be on my channel. Subscribe to these guys, follow them. You know that we're talking about. That's just one episode. Shawn Pierce episode was fantastic. I'm just thinking some ones recently. Your year-end wrap-up is a great. I think your year-end wrap-up would be a great one of the good introductory ones because you have so much leaning back. It's hard when you get to a size show like yours. And mine's like, where do you go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you organize it? Those just work your way back if you're just starting new because they're also good. You know, cherry pick. But I say grab the last couple though. They're pretty good. It's a pretty good feeling. You guys have a good groove going on right now.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a good start for people to follow you on. And
Yeah.
subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's get the numbers up there. Get the numbers up there. It's easier to get the guests, which allows you guys to do your thing. It's not about some guests are bigger than others. 'Cause I've had some guests to be huge about my show. Some of them that aren't that good want bigger numbers. You know what I'm saying? So it's not even about the numbers and some guests. It's not about that. Pop musicians are really hard. Rockers are easier. Metal are easier. Pop stars for some reason are so hard, or different things. So it depends on different genres. I'm saying for me, you just never know. You know.
Yeah.
But people need to follow you guys. That's all I can say. And that's gonna be my thing. I'm gonna go crazy. They'll be like, all right, we're following them. I want to see your numbers get up there. They can be like, all right, they're listening to me. I can shut up. That's how I'm gonna shut up.
well, we appreciate you
yeah.
having us on to talk about all this today and support and just befriending the befriending that has happened. So
it's great.
And I'm actually up at the link underneath the show too. So afterwards, click on it and subscribe and go right over to them. You're watching us, you know.
Thank you,
Thank you
Shawn.
guys for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it. This has
Yeah,
been great.
thanks, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thanks, man. It was
Thank you.
nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. We'll do this again.